All right, so we've talked about how systems help a business think. But thinking is only half the battle, right? To really win, a business has to move. And it's got to move faster, smarter, and maybe the most important part of all, moving together. So, what makes all this possible? That's what we're diving into today. Enterprise systems. I want you to think of these as the digital engines that connect every single part of a company. We're talking from the factory floor all the way up to the CEO's office, making sure everyone and everything is moving in perfect sync. So here's what we've got on the agenda. First, we're going to tackle the big, messy problem these systems were even created to solve in the first place. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the tools that really form a company's digital backbone. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at how you can use all this tech to completely flip the script on how work gets done. Sound good? Let's go. Okay, first up, the connected enterprise. We've got to start here because we're talking about a problem that literally every growing organization faces. It's that classic headache of different departments living in their own little worlds. You've heard the term, right? Silos? Just picture this for a second. Sales goes and promises a customer a specific delivery date. But guess what? The production team has absolutely no clue. Or maybe finance is scrambling for a report that's locked away on HR's server in a format they can't even open. You see, this isn't just a small mix-up. It's a total recipe for delays, frustration, and honestly, a massive waste of time and money. So how in the world do you fix this kind of chaos? Well, that's where the enterprise system comes in. And I want you to think of it less like just another piece of software and more like a central nervous system for the whole organization. It literally takes every core process, sales, HR, finance, you name it, and plugs them all into one single unified platform that uses one shared database. What this does is create what we call a single source of truth. So for the first time, everyone is playing from the same sheet of music, just one version of the truth for the entire company. And you know what? The impact is pretty much immediate. Those data silos that drive everyone crazy, gone. Teams can finally coordinate without pulling their hair out. And get this, for the very first time, the people in charge get a live, real-time dashboard of the entire business. And what does that lead to? You guessed it, much, much smarter and faster decisions. All right, so let's zoom in a little bit. Let's talk about the most critical type of enterprise system out there, the one that really acts as the digital backbone for any modern company, and that is the ERP. ERP, it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, and it's basically the command center of the business. It's this incredibly powerful software that manages all those crucial day-to-day things. We're talking finance, sales, HR, inventory, all of it from that one single integrated platform we were just talking about. This is where you really see the magic of ERP in action. Let's walk through it. A customer places an order online, okay? Boom. Instantly, the system updates the inventory. It tells the production line what it needs to make. It generates an invoice, and it pings the finance team. See that? One single click triggers this perfectly synchronized chain reaction across the entire company. And the best part? It's all automatic. Now, I gotta be real with you. Getting an ERP system up and running is a massive undertaking. I mean, look at the advantages. They're huge, right? Faster operations, super accurate data, lower costs, it's all great. But the challenges, they are very, very real. These things are expensive. They're incredibly complex to implement. They require a ton of training. And you can bet you're gonna face some pushback from employees who are used to doing things the old way. This isn't just a tech upgrade, you see. It's a massive cultural change. So why on earth would anyone do it? Simple. For a company that's trying to grow, the alternative is total chaos. Okay, so we've seen how these systems connect everything on the inside of a company. But now let's pull back and look at the bigger picture. How does all this connectivity change how a business deals with the outside world? Well, that brings us to the idea of e-business. And this right here is a super important point. When most people hear e-business, they immediately think, oh, that's just selling stuff online. But that's just one tiny piece of a giant puzzle. E-business isn't just about selling. It's about running your entire business digitally. We're talking everything from how you manage suppliers and payments to how you run your meetings and help your customers. Think about it this way. That Buy Now button you click on Amazon, that's the e-commerce part. But Amazon itself is a full-blown e-business. Why? Because its entire supply chain, its logistics, its cloud services, its customer support, the whole shebang is built on this one massive interconnected digital foundation.
Okay, so now that we're clear on that difference, let's zoom back in on the part of e-business that we all know and use pretty much every day, e-commerce.
So yeah, e-commerce is all about the transaction itself, the actual buying and selling of stuff online. We're all super familiar with B2C, right? Business to customer. That's you buying something from Amazon. But a huge chunk of the online economy is actually B2B, business to business. Think of a car company buying tons of steel from a supplier online. And of course, there's C2C, consumer to consumer, which is what makes places like eBay possible. But none of these fancy systems mean a thing without the people who run them. And that's where modern communication tools come into play. They're like the digital glue that holds the human side of the company together. I mean, look at this list. We all use these things every single day, right? Email, Zoom, WhatsApp, Teams. These are the tools that make remote work and hybrid schedules not just possible, but actually productive. They let us collaborate faster, make decisions on the fly, and we don't have to wade through mountains of paperwork. Let's be honest, the modern office just couldn't function without them. All right, we've looked at the tools that connect a business, but now we're going to get to what might be the most powerful idea of all. It's not just about using these tools, it's about using them to fundamentally rethink and redesign how work itself is done. And this idea is called Business Process Reengineering, or BPR for short. Now, the two words I really want you to focus on here are radical and dramatic. BPR is not about making little, tiny improvements. No. It's about looking at a process, a way of doing things, and asking, why do we even do it this way? And then you use technology to rebuild that entire process from scratch to make it as fast and efficient as possible. We're not talking about small tweaks, we're talking big, fundamental changes. This before and after picture really says it all. The old way to get a loan approved, it probably involved filling out paper forms, waiting for a clerk to look at it, then hunting down a manager to get a signature, a whole process that could take days, maybe even weeks. But after BPR, you apply online. The system verifies everything instantly, and you can get an approval in minutes. The process isn't just faster, the entire nature of the work has completely changed.
So let's just quickly tie this all together. Enterprise systems, they connect all the different departments. ERP, that manages the core resources. E-business, that's about digitizing the entire organization. E-commerce, that's how a company sells its products online. E-communication, that connects the people. And finally, BPR takes all of that technology and uses it to redesign everything.
And that, right there, is how these information systems can transform a company. It's not a slow, gradual thing. It's a complete overhaul. And that leaves us with just one final question for you to think about. When you look at your own job, or even just your day-to-day life, what process is just sitting there, waiting for its own radical redesign?